I understand sadness, hardship, and pain. I've experienced fear and anxiety. I know what it is to grieve. I understand that just below the surface of my waking reality is an abyss of madness and horror. You can feel it too, can't you? It's there all the time, and the surface you stand upon is fragile. It's like a caldera awaiting to erupt. It's the dark absolute, and its depths are limitless. Sometimes its content comes to the surface as either fear, panic, or rage. It's called being human, being alive. But what's helped me cope with all this, what's empowered me, is the philosophy I teach on this channel. My personal left-hand path philosophy. Now, there's a woman in the small town I live in here in Northern California who's very vocal about her love of God. Her and her husband own a business, so she's often outside their establishment conversing with those who walk down Main Street. And if there's no one to speak to, it's not unusual to see her arms raised to the heavens, crying out for Lord's forgiveness. When I'm out walking my dog, I tend to avoid her side of the street, but if I'm not paying attention and get caught up in her web, I'm subjected to her endless complaining. I try to be polite and carry on, but she continues her tireless ranting. She blames, that's her thing. She blames others for her misery, her neighbors, the other businesses, the local government, and so on. She'll continue her ranting even as I walk away. It's obvious she's a very unhappy individual. And, obviously, her spiritual philosophy isn't working for her. If Yahweh's forsaken her, why does she continue to praise him? Wouldn't it be wiser to try a different path? But she's no different than most people. This is something I don't understand. Your path should be contributing to your psychological wholeness. That should be the most important reason why you're on it. And if it isn't helping you to cope, find a new one. I see it here in the left-hand path community all the time. I notice that a vast number of those that say they're on the path are miserable. And the path itself seems to be contributing to that misery. Now, why is this? Because the left-hand path is filled with darkness, and instead of facing their shadow, they scream at it, wondering why it's there before them. Thus, they're missing the whole point of the left-hand path. What happened is, when they gave up on the religion they were raised in, their psyches were emptied. This divorced them from what Carl Jung called a symbolic life, the life of myth, imagination, and metaphor. Thus, that hollowness inside has become a conduit for what lies in the abyss, allowing it to spill out in a rush of nihilism and despair. I understand that some get on the left-hand path out of a simple, childish, rebellious need, but many do so to try to plug that hole in their psyche. And if they try to do this, then they don't understand what the left-hand path is all about. It's about embracing those demons that spill out from that inner hell. It's not about ignoring that abyss and what lies therein, pretending it isn't there. It's about what Nietzsche called amor fati, love of fate, taking responsibility and facing whatever life throws at you. Simply put, if you're afraid to face those psychological serpents and demons, then the left-hand path isn't for you. Try something else. Right-hand path, New Age paganism maybe? You might like it. Maybe they have safe spaces and emotional support unicorns.